So extended talks on an Iranian nuclear deal resuming in Vienna today, but the U.S. and 5 other world powers not coming any closer to a final agreement. So what happens if there is no deal? Is there a plan B? My next guest says it may involve this giant bomb, known as a massive ordnance penetrator, the largest non-nuclear bomb in our military's arsenal. Retired 4-star General Jack Keane is the chair of the Institute for the Study of War and a Fox News military analyst. Great to see you in studio in D.C., General.
I agree.
All right, I didn't ever know that there was something called a massive ordnance penetrator, better known, I guess, as an MOB, right? Or MOP. What is it?
Well, what's been going on, the physics of it, we have precision-guided munitions. The enemy, to avoid that, has been digging deeper and deeper to bury things that they value. And we have to keep building better penetrators to get down very deep. And this is the latest version of what we have developed. Now, where we are in this state of technology is quite remarkable, because this thing weighs 15 tons. It's the largest conventional weapon ever made, and it carries almost 2 tons plus worth of explosives on it, and it can go down and reach the deep sites that Iran has, but that are at least a couple hundred feet down.
Okay, so people are calling this a potential plan B if, in fact, we can't come up to some sort of a deal with Iran. But, I mean, how does President Obama factor into that? Because would he ever initiate any kind of a strike like that?
Most of us, for some time, who have been observing the White House's policies, and I think Iran itself, do not believe that President Obama would ever execute the military option, even though the rhetoric of the United States government is that this option always remains on the table. I think the likelihood of it ever being used is pretty slim, and even more so now as we're in the twilight of this presidency, assuming we do not get a deal.
Okay, so what do you
this deal? I'm convinced we're going to have something, maybe not by the 7th, but we'll have something that resembles a deal. I think the concessions are going to be too steep to Iran. It's going to be too favorable to them, and they're going to get a windfall of money back when the sanctions are removed, $100 billion, for them to be able to execute their proxy wars and their state sponsoring of terrorism in the Middle East. Their major foreign policy objective is to dominate the Middle East, and they are achieving that, and having nuclear weapons is part of that policy objective.
Kind of scary. Okay, for the 3rd time since March, inmates have escaped from a prison, not in upstate New York, but in Yemen. This time in the South, nearly 1,200 escaped. 1,200, including members of al-Qaeda. So, General, I mean, we're not talking about 2 guys in upstate New York who get out and it takes us 25 days to find them. We're talking about 1,200 prisoners in Yemen. What can we expect now? They're going to all join ISIS or al-Qaeda or what?
Yeah, well, certainly this reflects the political and social upheaval that's going on in Yemen. Add this to the failed state of Syria and Libya and partially Lebanon, and that's what's happening in the Middle East. This is a result of the civil war between the Yemenis government and also the Iranian-backed Houthis. And what's taking advantage of that is the al-Qaeda operatives are taking advantage of it, and also ISIS, as you mentioned. So the radical Islamists are here, just as they are in Syria, just as they are in Libya, establishing another sanctuary from which to conduct operations. As we know, this is the al-Qaeda organization in Yemen that we fear the most in the United States, because its purpose is to attack the United States.
Okay, so a lot of people are still concerned that some prisoners are going to be released from Gitmo and that they potentially would go back to this part of the world. I mean, based on their track record now of 1,200 being released, is this a safe idea? How does this tie into Gitmo, if at all?
Well, the next batch of prisoners to be released from Gitmo are from Yemen. They're supposed to go to Oman, which is a border country to Yemen. It's likely they will be in Yemen soon after they're released. That's the reality of it. That's been the pattern in the past. That's why this policy makes no sense whatsoever at Gitmo and in releasing really hardcore radicals. And we've been down to the hardcore for some time now.
Right. Well, we all know that 5 of them were released for Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, a very controversial decision. General, great to see you in D.C. Thanks.
Good seeing you, Gretchen.